everyone, it's Miss Eileen. I'm here with another book to share with you. This is called Spirit Animals, Tales of the Fallen Beast. This is a special edition of the Spirit Animals book series. There are multiple authors of this book series. This particular one is written by Brandon Mull. So this is also a collection of short stories, and I'm going to share part of the first short story with you. So this first short story is called Unleashed, and it's by Emily Seif. There was a tremendous brilliance, like a blindfold had just been pulled away from his eyes, and for a moment, Halware felt nothing but the sting of too much light everywhere. He was consumed by a purple radiance, the whole world like the penumbra of the sun. And then the rest of his body caught up to his eyes. He was joyfully aware of the wind in his feathers. He could taste the salt spray and smell the raw, endless sea pulsing below him. He heard the rush of the air as it parted to make room for his body. He was soaring. He pumped his wide wings up and down, enjoying the way they pushed the air around, currents tense and smooth as water, the tips of his wings brushing lightly against the sky. He stretched them out to their fullest span, nearly 7 feet, so that he could see the sun glinting on the blue and gray of the feathers under his wings. Halwar let out an exultant scream. He was a great beast and king of these skies. Fast and focused, majestic wings now flush against his body, Halwar reached the apex of his flight and turned to dive down. A seagull crossed his line of vision, and he lunged at it playfully. Of course, the seagull didn't know that Halwar was simply feeling out his strength. It assumed it was destined to be dinner. It flapped away as fast as it could, squawking wildly. Halwar's eyes squinted in an avian smile. If he were in the mood to hunt, that seagull wouldn't have a chance. But he let the bird go. Now he saw an ocean of Erdis spread out below him. He still didn't know where he was, just that it was good to be here at all, to be back. He zipped down farther still, skimming along the surface of the foamy sea, following the curves and crests of the waves but never getting wet, then up over a sea trader's sleek boat. The next moment, a heavy net fell over his head. His wings tangled up in the rope, and he came crashing down, landing on a hard surface with an undignified thud. He tried flapping his wings, squirming to get free of the net, but he only got more and more ensnared. Casting his eyes about wildly, Halwar could see that he was on the deck of the boat. Well-worn wooden planks slid beneath his talons as he scrambled to get his footing back. "You got him!" exclaimed a high voice, followed by footsteps running toward him. "I can't believe it! He's incredible!" It sounded like a child. Halwar's panic threatened to overwhelm him, but as the pumping in his heart subsided, he could see the young girl crouched next to him. She looked to be about 11. Her skin was brown and her hair was pale, as if the sun had both toasted and bleached her. A deeper voice spoke. It was a man dressed simply but neatly with the same dark skin as the girl. "Cordless, you did it! You've summoned a spirit animal!" The man paused, and Halwar could hear him trying to control the pride in his voice. "A bird is the perfect creature for a seafarer like you." "That's not just a bird," snapped the woman standing next to him. "Did you see its wingspan? Look at its hooked beak. It's an eagle, Imari." "An eagle?" said the girl, Cordalis. Halwar turned his yellow eyes to peer at her. "It can't be an eagle," the girl continued. "Everyone knows that you can't summon an eagle as a spirit animal because Halwar—" She bit off the end of her sentence. "Halwar?" the man echoed. "The great beast?" "The betrayer," said the woman sourly. "This can't be him," the girl said. But Halwar could hear the doubt in her voice. She didn't sound all that happy. Well, that made 2 of them. Cordless craned her neck to get a better look at his face through the net. Halwar pumped his massive wings again in protest, but the heavy net didn't allow him to gain any traction in the air. He let out a screech of rage. It was absurd to be kept trapped by a bunch of seafaring nobodies who probably couldn't even spot a fish flashing beneath the waves from 300 meters away. Halwar had come close to ruling all of the Erdis alongside Koval and Garathon. He had held the shining talisman in his talons, had seen the arrogant greencloaks run screaming from their silly castle. The war had turned against him and his allies in the end, but Halwar knew what it was to be one of the mightiest creatures on the face of Erdis. He knew what it was to make people tremble, and now he narrowed his yellow eyes at the girl to show that they were not friends. that they could never be friends. But she was ignoring that very signal. In fact, she reached her pointer finger out to lightly touch one of the blue-gray feathers under his mighty wings. "He is beautiful," she said. "Careful, Cordalis," the girl's mother warned, and rightfully so. Halvor would certainly have pulled away if he could, would have happily clawed her eyes out if he could, but he was immobilized, with no choice but to wait as she ran the tip of her finger along the length of his feathers, as if he were some little fluffy-headed chick, too young and weak and stupid to know how to fly. Still, as she stroked his glossy feathers, he felt himself weakening. It was like some tiny yellow chick was there inside him, cracking out of the shell of his heart and leaning in toward Cordalis. It surprised and scared him, the tentative feeling of connection between them. The hours the girl spent at the top of the boat's rigging, the sea flying by her hair and the wind whipping her hair into a froth, left a scent of the sky on her. That was something they shared. He sensed that she loved the feel of the wind in her face like he did. But he didn't like this weak spot in himself. She was holding him prisoner. That could not be forgiven. He would not be some girl's spirit animal dependent on her whim. He would not subject himself to the passive state. Maybe that was fine for slow-moving G, or a more common creature, but not him. Halvor used the power of his strong will to turn himself away from the spark of their bond. He would ignore it until, like any burning ember with no fuel, it would fade out and die. As he had sat there like a dumb cow, gazed by the touch of the girl's finger, the older woman had been approaching. Now, all of a sudden, she reached under the net and pulled on Halvor's leg. Again he fought, the sudden softness forgotten, this undesirable intimacy stirring him to intense anger. He thrashed his wings and neck and legs, but she had him. She had his delicate leg. He tensed his talons, hoping for at least one good scratch on her tough hide, and when that didn't work, he curved his body around and dove in with his beak for a peck. He tasted blood. She screeched and pulled away, but not before she had slipped a little knotted rope over his foot and tightened it around his leg. "That beast attacked me!" The woman brandished her arm in front of her. Halvor saw the gouge his beak had made in her fleshy forearm. Good. "Mother!" the girl cried. "Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I didn't know he would. Halvor, how could you do that?" "I'm fine. At least I got the leash on so we can get him under control." The mother's mouth twisted into a grim smile, and she handed the other end of the rope to the girl. Then together the woman and the man untangled the net and lifted it away from Halvor. The second it was gone, he took off into the sky. He wasn't stupid. Some part of his mind remembered that he was leashed, but his instincts were connected directly to his muscle, and he reacted long before his mind was able to chime in with some helpful advice. His heart soared and his wings followed, the instinct alive and immediate. Like an arrow shot into the sky, he took off until he reached the end of the cord. It yanked back on his leg, hard, and he boomeranged down in a tumble of feathers and fury onto the deck. "Shh," said the girl, his captor, the other end of the rope twisted around her arm. "Calm down." Calm down? He was on a leash like a groveling pet, and she thought he was going to roll over and play along? She looked up at the adults. "Isn't he supposed to feel a bond with me?" "It's natural when a spirit animal is first called for the bond to be weak," answered her mother. "It's something that both partners must work on and cultivate. Something that the two will strengthen over the years, usually." Halvor let out a crackling sound and his feathers raised like hackles. He wouldn't be working to strengthen his bond. He had no interest in becoming any closer with a sniveling child. He had had enough bad experiences with children already. He shook out his wings, brushing off the memory of Melon, Abbott, Roland, and Connor. Those baby greencoats who had cost him, well, everything. "Okay, we'll work on it," Cordalis said, only the hint of a question in her voice. "I'm sure that once we spend time together, our bond will feel more, she coughed. "I'm sure that there's lots we can learn from each other. Anyway, lots he can teach me." Her voice perked up with newfound enthusiasm. "Maybe soon I'll be running across the deck of the boat as fast as though I had wings." Her father smiled. "Or maybe you could be our new lookout once you have eyesight as powerful as an eagle's. Relieve Bowel of his night watch." "Yes!" Cordalis crowed. "And one step at a time, little sparrow," her mother said, placing her hand firmly on Cordalis' shoulder. "You'll see," Cordalis said. She shrugged the hand back. And with power to look out for me, you'll let go of me on my own when we dock, maybe. Since he'll be there to protect me. We'll start working on strengthening our bond right away, won't we, Halvar? It was a clear question that demanded a clear answer. He unfolded his wings and gave one powerful beat to launch himself up. Hovering on the softest air current, he felt himself relax into the air. Floating lightly at the end of his tether, he positioned himself directly above Cordalis. He could see her parents standing close by her and the ship's crew looking on curiously from around the deck. Then, he loosened his bowels and pooped on her head. So we will end there. That's partway through the first short story. So again, if you're interested, this book is called Spirit Animals, Tales of the Fallen Beast. It's a special edition of the Spirit Animals book series. And you can head to Hoopla, and this is available for instant download.